Hey guys, today I just want to share a little bit about who I am and my personal experience. I grew up without a father, but I want to make it very clear. I was raised by my mother and my grandparents. She was a single mom and she worked very, very hard to give me, my sister, and my younger brother and sister a great life. She worked her butt off, working full-time jobs just so we can have name brand clothes and video games and all the things that kids want. So much props to my mom and for my grandparents. I had an amazing childhood, a family that loved me so much, but I grew up without a dad. Now I know that there's some people that have grown up without dads or a father in their life and have really had a hard time with that, not knowing who their dad is. And you know, I've had my questions and my curiosities, but for me, not having a dad, it hasn't really been something that's kind of hindered me from growing as an individual. Growing up, I always kind of looked to my best friend, his dad, as like a father figure, or my grandfather, who really stepped up to the plate and tried his best to set a fatherly example for me. But naturally, they weren't my father, so they were very limited in what they could bring to the table as far as setting that example for me. And so basically, as I grew, I kind of had to teach myself what a man was. I was raised in a house full of women, and God bless them, but that's a little too much estrogen for me. I always craved masculinity and being adventurous and getting out there, but a lot of times I would end up having to go to the mall with my mom and hanging out. Which...
That's why he's such a good husband.
That's why I'm so fashionable, for one thing. I'm horrible at sports and hunting and stuff like that, but that's okay. So growing up, I was raised in a Southern Baptist church in the small town that I grew up. My grandma drug me there by the ears every Sunday. And one thing that I remember about going to church was the preacher was always talking about our Heavenly Father. God is our Father. And for me, like, not having a father in my life, that didn't really make sense because I always kind of equated father with absence. That's all I really knew. And so for me to wrap my little head around God as my father, it just didn't make sense to me. Until later on in life, because of my grandfather and other mentors that I've had in my life, light was beginning to be shed on the term father for me because of their examples. And I've had a couple of amazing pastors in my life who have really just set a strong example for what a father should be. And their examples began to kind of lift the obscurity of the of what father is. When I was 13, my mom became pregnant with my younger brother and sister. They're 13 years younger than me. So I was able to, as a young teenager, kind of see them grow up and kind of take my little brother and little sister under my wing. And I was able to take some of the wisdoms that I learned from the mentors in my life as my younger brother and sister began to grow up and begin to set an example for them. Not having a dad in my life has never been a serious struggle for me. Sure, it would have been nice to have somebody that could have taken me by the hand and shown me the ways of life. My mom, my grandma, my grandpa, other relatives, they did their best to set an example, but there were things that only a father or a dad could really speak into my life. And they did the best they could, but you know, it would have been nice to have that, but since I didn't, I ended up having to figure out some of those things on my own. The reason I have felt compelled to share my story is because I just want to encourage you, if you're watching this video and you don't have a mom or a dad in your life, and you've been raised by a single parent who've done their best to provide for you, or you do have a broken mom or dad in your life who hasn't been there for you, I want to encourage you. If this is your story too, there is hope. And I have found through Jesus Christ the peace that I have needed to become a man. I'm just here to tell you that you are not your biological father, that you have a destiny and you have a purpose and you have hope because you are breathing today, you're alive, and your heart is beating. You have purpose. Just like when I was a young kid and I was trying to figure out like who God was, and he's this mysterious father, and in my mind he was absent, but I've come to a realization that he is a loving father. He is the epitome of the term father, and that he is more loving, more compassionate than any earthly father could ever be. And he surpasses even the best, most qualified dad there is alive. Doesn't compare to who God is and the love that he pours out on his children. I just want to encourage you to embrace that. be confident. You are not your biological father. If you knew him or you didn't know him, that's not who you are. You have your own destiny. You have your own purpose.
Justin has been such an inspiration to me. He has been such a good husband. He's been such a good role model. I've seen him mentor many young people over the years that were hurting from their past. And I'm here to encourage you that you don't have to focus on the bad things in your life or the bad things that have happened to you. My dad once said, don't focus on the bad things. Be thankful for the good things. And Justin has been a walking testimony of that, and that's how I've seen him live his life, and I'm so grateful.
And something I must say is I didn't have a dad growing up, which I was able to cope with, but he gave me Tanya, and along with her came her dad, and he's a pastor, and he's become a dad to me. God's given me double for my trouble. So be encouraged today. You have a Father in heaven who loves you. If you put your trust in him, expect good things. You are loved today. We love you guys.
Love you.
Peace.